Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 285 at scavengerlife.com.
Last week, we drove to Atlanta, Georgia.
Yep.
And we didn't record like one of these.
We had an interview.
Checking in with each other. Yeah, we recorded another conversation with Jim Collins.
Who we love.
Good guy. He's like my dad. You know?
He's like the financial dad you never had.
That's right. And it's good. And it was cool to see people on the new forum kind of talk about.
Yep.
The whole topic was, how did you learn about money? You know,
did you learn about money?
Or we all learn about money in one way or the other. Some is very like they teach you well. Sometimes you just learn bad habits by seeing your parents do bad habity things. You know.
You know, it was funny. It was like there were some people commenting also saying that within their family they just inherently were people who were thrifty and they saved. And I was the same way. I was the type of person, kind of like you, where I was just like hoarding money the whole time I was a teenager. I was just hoarding money. I never spent money. Yet my brother spent every dime he ever got the moment he got it. He would buy CDs and concert tickets and T-shirts and
cars,
a car. I don't know why. What we were raised by the same parents, right. You know.
And Jim talked about that with his own daughter. I mean, that he feels he has a limited influence on her. That really, some of it is you can teach people, but some of it is just innate.
It's just
their
people's personalities.
Just what they do. I think what was interesting was, for me, I've always been a very thrifty person. I don't like to waste money. Right. I like to save it. What I didn't learn from like my parents was what to do with its money.
Once you had the money.
You know, how to start a business, how to invest it. So
you bought a motorcycle.
I would have times in my life where I'd be super thrifty, you know, wear thrift store clothes and I don't spend a lot. And then I'd have a chunk of change and then I would spend it on mainly like experiences.
Well, sure.
Travel.
Went to Europe.
You know, those kind of things.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's something, though, that I didn't even know it was an option to invest because it just didn't seem like it's something someone like me did.
Yeah, or it was something that is so foreign and you don't understand it. You're like, where would I even start? You know, I'm 23. That's not what 23-year-olds do.
I mean, it's kind of like with what we've talked about with like doing what we're all doing. You know, we all have our own little businesses, these little eBay businesses. I mean, no one taught me how to
be a business person. And I went to art school.
So it's interesting to be conscious of that. So we drove to Atlanta. It's your first time there, Ryan?
Yes, it was the first time in Atlanta.
What'd you think?
And, you know, while we did not spend very much time outside of the conference and the hotel, we spent a little bit of time outside. I loved it. I thought it was great. I wish we could have stayed longer.
Yeah. Atlanta, and I'm sure people who are, you know, from there, I lived there for a couple of years, 99, 2000. I actually spent New Year's Eve, 2000, like the big,
in Atlanta.
I spent it in a control room in CNN, and we were waiting for
Y2K
destruction, or just in case. And I remember that's how I spent it, because if everything was going to hit the fan, we were ready. We had people ready around the world to start.
That's right. You were at CNN International, and you were like, okay, well,
but it turned out to be super snooze. I
remember I spent that New Year's in my mom's living room in East Bridgewater, Massachusetts.
Yep. So Atlanta was good. We got some work done, made some money, which is nice.
It was actually great. It was a great conference.
Yep. But Atlanta just seemed cool. Definitely much hipper, cooler.
Definitely a cool town.
Definitely gentrified in certain places, and that's just the way of the world these days. We also, because we're scavengers, we're doing this edge renovation of a second edge rental. We picked up a bunch of deck boards.
Yeah,
of a specific kind of wood.
So it was funny because we were planning on driving down there, and Jay said, let's drive the truck, number one, because our truck is more reliable than our car because it's not as old. And number two, once you said that, I was like, well, we got to make it a scavenging trip somehow, because we're driving through like 3 states. So we got to find something on Craigslist, either, flooring or a bathtub or something. And we had planned to buy hardwood, this special hardwood, it's called Black Locust, For those of you who burn wood, you know it's the best stuff to burn because it's hard wood. It's dense. And so you found a guy in North Carolina, and we were like, we got to pick it up on the way or on the way back.
It definitely wasn't cheap, but it was much more affordable than other kinds of like exotic hardwoods. And it's a kind of wood that once we put it down on the deck, it'll last at least 20 years without touching it, and if not 50 years. It's what, farmers made a
fence posts out of.
And, and being scavengers, we believe in, I love getting good deals, but I don't mind paying more up front if I save money on the back end.
So less maintenance.
So another reason why we didn't want to do a podcast is last week was because of the election, and we'll just briefly mention this. We don't, we don't talk much specifically about politics. We all have our own beliefs, but I think it's pretty. People that know us would know that we're pretty bummed about it. I was big surprise for a lot of us.
That's an understatement for me, but
it was a tough week. And, I remember during the Bush years, that this country got put in the worst economic spiral in a huge, grueling, expensive war. And that's the fear that's going to happen again,
Yep.
And anyway, so voting matters, it's very weird how Donald Trump did not win the popular vote.
Yep.
So I hope that conservatives don't see this as a mandate, a full mandate to do their thing. But
look, this is what I have to say about it. No matter who you voted for, no matter who won, whether it was Hillary or whether it was Trump, you need to hold your leaders accountable for what you wanted them to do. That is the most important thing. The thing I've heard from Trump voters that I know where we live is that they're concerned about insurance and things like that, and hold him accountable for what you wanted. That's important.
Basically, it's like I said, I clearly remember when Bush was elected both times, and I remember so many of us knew it was going to be bad, and it was probably worse than what we could have imagined. And I have the same feeling now, and all I'm saying is this: if you voted for Trump, own it. If you put this guy in charge, he's now putting people in the government who are in charge, and you need to own what happens. So let's not have another 8 years of Bush where we had that horrible war that we're still dealing with now. And remember the big economic crash? Let's not have that happen again, The good news is, as scavengers, as we all are, regardless of your political beliefs, we're ready for anything. We started selling on eBay
after the economic crash
8 years ago before
Obama got elected. It was right before
during that crash. And we purposely, we aren't preppers, but I sympathize with those ideas, and we moved to the country because we wanted to be in a smaller community. So if bad things started happening, we would feel safer here.
Right.
And we wanted to not have to work for someone else. So if bad things started happening, we were at the mercy of, that person who was paying our paycheck,
Right, exactly. So we still kind of feel that way. And, I feel like we are in a close-knit community of, look, we always say this about where we live, too, especially. People have different national political ideas, but when it comes to the community level, we agree on so much.
Yeah.
We're on county boards with people who are on a different political spectrum than us, but we agree on what we need to do to make things happen here.
75% of voters in our county voted for Trump. So this is like Trump County.
Yeah.
But at the same time, many of these people locally we get along with, and that makes some sense to me,
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, we've as scavengers, we've really cut our expenses to the bone, so we can survive probably almost any economic issue. If you're talking about zombie apocalypse,
then maybe not.
Then it's every man for himself, I guess. But what we're talking about is more what's traditionally happened in this country, where just things get tight, it gets bad, but everything is still working, and I don't know. I don't want to, we're all in this together, so I really hope the best for the Donald Trump, it's so weird to say that, administration, and I hope that the country does well. I mean, we're all in this together, but...
Look, I want the country to do well.
Yeah.
Everybody does,
But let's just hold our leaders accountable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Moving
Next
on
thing.
to our own little community.
Updates to the forum.
Yes. I've been enjoying the forum.
Yeah, we still have some things we need to fix that people have addressed. But I just did want to, it's mentioned something. So in the forum, you can subscribe to each category. So when you click on a category, kind of like next to the category name, there's a little tiny font that we need to make big that says
yes.
subscribe. And you can subscribe to that. So any a message put in that category will be emailed to you. You can also, just like on the blog, if it's respond to a certain it's thread, you can you can check the box that says send me an email to keep me updated.
Which I always forget to check. But we made it not a default checked because some people were saying, oh, I keep getting so many emails on this thread and it's, too many. So you do have to check. Don't forget,
you can now, the photos will automatically embed and videos will embed right in the post. The thing is about photos, they must end in the right word,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, well, honestly, it really depends on the URL. If it's Imager, it just automatically knows how to embed itself. But, like, other ones have to have .jpeg or .gif. So it just really depends on what website you're using. I think people should upload to Imager. It's imgur.com.
It's free, it's easy.
It's free, it's quick. It works really seamlessly with the forum, so...
And we also just wanted to make sure, because we've kind of switched things around, that if anyone's having any kind of issues with getting notified of new podcasts, because we had to switch some things. So if you've subscribed on iTunes or wherever, we would love to know if you're having any problems.
Yeah, please let us know. You can email us. It's thescavengerlife@gmail.com.
I also want to say that you can also start... It's your own topic. I just want to make that very clear, so anyone can go into a category and start a new topic about something that's going on.
Yeah, so say you have a shipping question. Go into the shipping forum and start a new topic in there, and people will start talking.
We started a category of what is this? Like the identification thread, which is great. So, we found a wool teddy bear. And I took pictures of it, and I was like, what is this?
You did? I didn't see that. I need to be... I guess I'm not subscribed to that forum yet.
Yeah.
We found this teddy bear yesterday, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I actually posted something to the What Is It, too, because I found this little plaque thing, and it had a signature, and I was like, this signature looks special. And Kate, of course, knew exactly what it was.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. And we also want to mention, we didn't know these people very well. We just kind of knew them like I guess other people did. The Dorky Thrifters.
They post a What Sells video.
Yeah. The husband had a freak heart attack, I guess, and died. So they have a GoFundMe page.
It's GoFundMe.com/Aaron-Palmer. Aaron with 2 A's.
Yeah, and, so we have nothing to do with that, but we just wanted to mention that as just fellow scavengers. That's, I don't know what I would do if, you were to die, or if I were to die.
I don't know, that would my heart goes out to them. It's really a tragedy.
But that's definitely something that, is in our plans, is, our goal to pay off all of our mortgages ASAP. So if something happened to either of us, the other one would be okay. So we would still have a business that was cranking it out.
Right, exactly.
Okay, let's talk about eBay. That's why we're here in the first place.
eBay.
Our new helper is working out better than we could have imagined.
I just, we've gotten through so many death piles that Jay is so how about that other stuff? I'm like, it's done. It's listed. Well, what about that other box? It's done. And he's like, I can't believe you guys have gotten through all this stuff.
And so the way it worked was I was a headhunter. So I'm the one that found her and asked if she wanted to come and work.
Right. It was a great idea.
And then you're the boss. So
Yeah.
you're the one that works with her, in the same room,
Right.
head to head. And how is that process going?
It's great.
So explain its process again.
Okay, so this is how we do it. This is the third week of her working with us. We were gone for Atlanta, so we couldn't work that week. But what we do is we actually have an extra iPhone that we use when we go to Europe. So I just put that on airplane mode. Just put the Wi-Fi on. And now, at this point, the third weekend, I have a user on one of our laptops where she starts drafts. So say there's a bunch of necklaces. Okay, so she starts 20 drafts of necklaces.
And she does that herself.
She does it herself now.
Okay.
I showed her how to do it because it's really easy to do multiple drafts. So she knows how to do that. So she's done that. So on the phone app, it syncs, to your account so she can see her 20 drafts. So she clicks one, she takes pictures of the necklace, say. She writes down anything, she'll make a short title, blue beaded necklace. Not the kind of title I'm going to use, but just so I know which one's which. And then she gives the measurements or says any flaws or anything. And then she saves it. So once she's saved it, and say there's 5 or 6 of them, then I'm on my computer. And that's the beauty of the internet and your account. Everything's syncing. So I'm on my computer, I refresh the drafts page, I see her blue beaded necklace, I go in there, I know, what it is, so I make a big long title, I make sure it's in the right, category, it's vintage, whatever, and then I list it. So that's the beauty of the system, because the way we did it before, and we still are kind of doing this, I have a bunch of folders that I need to list, is you'd take pictures, do the title and the information in a Google Doc, then I would, and that's all syncing up too on Dropbox, be, on my computer later or whenever, and then I would list it. But she's basically using the phone as almost like a webcam type thing. So I'm not actually archiving any of those photos like we used to, but it's so much faster.
And that's a big change for us just in the past 6 months, and that's because of some people in our community who said, ditch the camera,
right?
And then taking out the SD card and transferring photos. Just do it on your phone and upload straight to eBay, and then it's so much faster. And you are so right.
Yep. It changed everything for us.
So help me understand this. So our goal is eventually to teach her to list completely. Right?
Now, here's the thing that you and I have talked about. I want her to just list. I want to do other stuff.
Right, like give her a box of stuff, have her write all the titles, price it, it's gone.
But the issue is this, here's an example. We did all our playing cards. Thank all the gods.
A huge box of them, yeah.
Huge box. We've been collecting them for years. A bunch of them were...
years.
Whatever, a year. Some of them were so dusty, I had to be like, here's a cloth, you need to dust these, because they've been sitting here forever. But the problem is, some of them are cheap. Some of them are worth a lot of money, in my opinion.
Right.
In my research.
It's different than people we've heard of, like Dan, Like Dan hires some people, and it's great. He would talk about, he puts an ad on Craigslist. He finds someone that just wants some extra work. He mainly does clothes, so he would take them, a bunch of clothes or, baseball cards.
Right.
But the brilliant thing he would do is say, all of this is $19.99.
Across the board.
Don't think about it. And for us, we don't really have that kind of inventory, We
have such varied, even among categories.
And that's my concern with having her list just outright is then she has to start learning about researching, pricing.
Which I think she can, but there's a level of experience that we have where okay, so a deck of playing cards. Here's a deck of playing cards from the 1930s. No one has anything like it online. There's no 90-day, history of anyone selling this. Well, what would someone who just started 3 weeks ago do? I don't know. What I would do is price it really high with make offer.
Right.
So the other thing that's tough too is we are paying her $10 an hour. And to be like, oh, that sweater you just listed sold for $120. And she's like, that paid me for a week on one sweater. Like that might be a weird, awkward thing, to
Right. I mean, that's it's concern. It's different if you're like, okay, here's a bunch of shirts and they're all $19.99 and like it's no one's impressed. But yeah, that is my concern, and it's probably a silly one, but I'm just like, so if we start teaching her everything, researching, pricing things $3.99 best offer, it's like we're teaching her everything. And that's always been my concern. And what people are probably saying right now who have done this, they say, don't worry about it. There are people who do not want to run their own business.
Right.
They don't care. They just want to get paid, and they're never going to do this themselves. And and then my other self says, and if she wants to try, let her go for it. If she wants to try and go buy stuff and list it and has the patience and the storage, she should just do it. But we are at a point we're trying to think of how that will work. Because if we did trust her and did teach her everything, it would be incredible.
It would be incredible to not have.
And we would need to pay her more than $10 an hour for that level of expertise.
Yes. But the great thing is she's super smart. She's like an accounting student. She's like smart nerd. And so I think, and like from day one, whenever I taught her something, she did it perfectly.
Right.
I mean, not every, like, there's some things where I had to be like, okay, watch out for this and that, and she's fine.
Yeah, I mean, she's just smart. Like, she's not a dummy.
She's just like, okay, I take pictures of pants like this.
Super lucky. And that's the other thing. We haven't really talked to her about all these dreams we have for her. So we have no idea if this is just like, this is cool for a couple months, or if she's like, yeah, let's do this. Like, I'm not going to leave,
Yeah. So far, we have been very, very, very happy. It's been incredibly helpful. I keep telling her that. Right. I'm like, I've been waiting to clear out my office full of clothes for a long time.
We may be done with every single death pile in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Every single death pile in our house will be on eBay. Maybe 3 weeks since it's the holiday coming up. And this is the other thing people are asking, well, what does she have access to? Well, basically right now she has access to everything. Like, she lists from our account. So
it's not on her computer or her phone, though. Because once she leaves, it's my phone and our computer.
So, and she's not we aren't using whatever, InkFrog or 6-bit, these like different third-party services that you can use, so you just give somebody a certain kind of access to your account. And we're talking about that. I mean, for us, we're not just hiring someone from Craigslist that we don't know. This is a daughter of a friend of ours. Yeah. So if there's ever a problem, we know where they live. I mean,
we've had dinner at their house.
But so that's where we're at right now. But
so far I'm super happy. I'm like addicted to having employees. I'm like, I just want to have everyone do these things for me.
Yeah. I mean, and the cool thing is that if she continues and we catch up, I mean, we can actually spend more time scavenging. I mean, with all of the other stuff we have going on, I mean, we really only scavenge one evening a week, is where we've dedicated to scavenge. And then, we scavenge as we're out and about.
Here and there.
But I would love to have the time to go scavenging at one auction a week and one flea market every week. Right. In addition to just,
And try to be getting, like, more high-end stuff, too. Right. So. Yeah.
Because that has been something, because we've been delving into death piles, a lot of it's lower dollar items, as you'll hear in our numbers. We sold quite a bit, but just kind of...
Bread and butter.
$20, yeah. Okay, on eBay, we talked about this. This happened a couple of weeks ago, but you can now send an offer to someone on the phone.
Finally.
So they send you a message like, what size is this shirt? And you can say it's a size 112. And then 112. You can
send them an offer. Hey, would you take $25 for this? And you can be like, yes, I will. Send an offer.
So how does that work? Is it good for you? Do you think that a make offer is good on the phone?
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, it's just like on the computer. You don't want any kind of
change or...
No, it seems fine to me.
Good.
What I would love to do on the phone is to be able to send an invoice. That's something that's been lacking always.
Right.
It's great to be able to take an offer, send an offer, but then I have to get on my computer to like send the invoice and send, so that's...
And the sending the invoice is important when...
Oh, just when you accept an offer, because you want them to pay the invoice. Or here's an example. This guy wanted to buy 3 T-shirts from us. It was 3 of the same kind, so it was quantity 3. He was like, would you take this much for the 3 T-shirts, but free shipping? Usually we don't do free shipping, but I'm like, I would love to make this money. I would love to sell these shirts. They're going to be cheap. It's going to be first class. They're very lightweight. Absolutely. So the problem was, when you send the offer, you need to send an invoice with 0 shipping. So it's bedtime. It's like 10 o'clock. I'm going to sleep. I'm sending this offer, and I'm like, look, I want this guy to pay before the morning. I need to get up, get on the computer, and send the invoice with 0 shipping, because eBay won't do it over the phone.
Yeah.
Because people will be like, well, I went to go pay, and it still says like $8 for shipping, and you're like, oh.
I mean... So I think it's great. I feel like eBay's been improving all these little tiny things. The site's looking like more of a modern site. But I wish that there was an open line of communication between us, people like us, and the engineering team.
Yeah.
Like the engineering team had like a web page on eBay that they actually had used and let you know what was going on and let people...
Do they?
Let people... there are pages where they do announcements, but they're very few and far between. I'm talking about more of an interactive... People
like
vote.
Google, because Google has like support forums, and people come on there, hey, try this, try this.
And where you actually feel like you're talking to the people who are actually building this stuff, and they get... we can all vote on what needs to happen.
Right.
I mean, I'd like to know what they're working on. I would love to have a way to give them direct feedback. I mean, I know right now, there's like a links that say, give us feedback.
Yeah,
I don't know where that goes to. Customer service.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess we just take what we get.
Things are improving. You can send an offer over the phone now. That's huge. The fact that you can send an offer through messages, that's new this year, is awesome.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, someone asked about this. I've had this item for a couple of years. I'll just send them a good offer.
And I've worked in corporations, and I mean, I guess we have to give credit to the people inside of eBay who are fighting the good fight. I'm sure any little tiny change is meeting upon meeting upon meeting in emails internally for someone to convince someone else that this needs to happen.
Yeah,
so, and to get 8 different teams to actually collaborate to, make that happen.
Exactly.
So, there you go.
Yep.
We just hit 8,000 feedback on our store.
Did our star color change?
I don't know, but there you go. It seems like it takes us about a year to get 1,000 feedback.
Look, I think more than half of customers don't ever leave feedback because they buy something and they sign out of eBay for like 6 months, or they just don't care.
And to be honest with you, that does not bother us. We don't chase feedback. No. We don't remind people. We would rather get no feedback than bad feedback.
Right.
Obviously, but we'd rather get no feedback than have the chance to get bad feedback by like pestering people. eBay, the way it works is, eBay kind of penalizes you for the bad feedback, but doesn't really reward you for good feedback.
Right.
So, if you have a couple bad feedbacks, then, you're at like 99.2 or, and that's seen as not good in their eyes. So, I mean, it's not that specific a number, but anything under 100. So it's for us, silence is golden. We
don't chase.
We try and do a good job, send it out, treat people well, but we'll let people do feedback the way they want to do it.
Yeah.
And we also received a message. Someone else mentioned this on a forum from eBay about updating our last bill. They said that we were not charged the right amount for final value fees in October, so it was going to get changed on our current bill. But they didn't say
up or down.
Up or down. We just got our latest invoice. I don't see where it says.
I don't know how to how do you read the? Yeah.
So that's
this isn't. You're like, okay, could you be more specific?
That's one of those things where they should send an email like, "We're going to change it by this amount, minus or plus." Like, just tell me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to even talk about Amazon. It's not even happening. Okay, next thing.
Good. I'm so glad.
Just a random thing, and kind of goes along with this new election and it changing 4 years. So something we always do kind of this time of every year towards the end is, or at least I do. I look at our expenses.
You're very good at that.
I'm like, okay, what are we spending our money on?
What can we reduce?
Because I have a whole sheet and I know where all of our money's going. And throughout the year we'll like add something new, some new service maybe. And so I always look at the expenses and see how we can bring those down. What I'm doing this year is our insurance.
All insurance.
Because we have 3 homes now, so insurance on all 3 homes and then on our cars.
Yeah.
And after reading online, I saw that if you make your deductible higher, you can significantly bring down your
premium.
Yes. Right. So that's what we did. So we're going to save like $1,500.
Thank goodness.
Overall, it's this year because we're bringing our premiums up. I mean, our deductibles up to $10,000.
Yeah.
Versus it was $1,000.
It was less than $1,000.
And people are like $10,000, but it's kind of just a gamble. So if you think about it, if in 10 years we have some accident on one of our houses and we have to pay the first $10,000, we will have saved $15,000 by just paying
less.
Exactly. Less. I mean, obviously, if all 3 houses have a fire, then it's really not a good gamble. But we're playing the odds.
Yeah, that's a Mr. Money Mustache technique. Now, does he talk about that?
He does that too. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty tried and true strategy in the financial independence world of just just put your premiums high, because if you don't have a lot of
deductibles high
and you save money, right,
deductibles high,
make the deductible high, because if you don't have any debt or not a lot and you save a lot of cash, then you can handle a high deductible. Yeah. And the other thing, like we always said, is about our phone. That was the big one too. I mean, we are
huge, yeah.
Because we moved to Ting, we're continuing to save money every single month. I can't believe we were spending $200 a month on 2 phones.
It was
through AT&T. So
Ting is awesome. We have a link.
Yep.
It is a referral link.
Yep, but there are plenty of other of these, like, I don't know what you call them. They're like a reseller company.
Yeah, like there's low cost. There's Republic,
Track Phone,
yeah,
Trace Phone. I mean, there's all these companies that basically buy service from Sprint, AT&T.
Yeah, they buy bandwidth.
And then they just repackage it and sell it to you for cheaper.
But
I don't understand it.
Like, the cool thing is for most of these services, you're only paying for what you use. And when we were on AT&T, we were just paying one chunk, and if you use more, they charge you more. But on Ting, if you don't use anything, you just get charged a line fee. It's like $6.
And that really, that's my kind of scavenger.
Because we can be on Wi-Fi as much as possible.
So if you have time during the holidays, why not? And you have an annoying family around, get on your computer and look at what you're spending money on and figure out if you can bring those prices down. Oh, and the last thing we do too, and we have to do it every 12 months, our internet, if you call them, you can get I can't guarantee this, but if you ask them to bring your price down, they will.
They might.
And we do that. We do it every year. Every 12 months, we're like, we don't want to pay it's as much. And they're like, okay. And so we get a $20 discount every month just for asking.
And it's $20 per house. And we have 2 houses on internet right now. So, yeah, it's very
because
helpful.
I guess these, especially... most of us are buying our internet through these huge conglomerates, and I guess the customer reps have some kind of a leeway to keep you, so there you go. Okay, our numbers for the week. It was slow for us. It was a kind of week where, it started out like gangbusters.
Right, lots of sales.
Lots of things, and then by about Thursday, it just hit a wall. Yeah. And it's continuing today even. So we made about $1,100 in our main store, and then we made about $250 in our second store. So, we're trying to get to $1,500 this week.
Yep.
For the end of the day.
We sold $50 on Bonanza. Bonanza.
Cool. It's like a little cherry on Sunday.
It's just a little bonus. Yeah.
So I don't know. I hear, I see other people doing well. Some people are struggling. That's just how it is. I don't know. For us, I think it's because we've really been focusing on a lot of low dollar items.
Yep.
Bread and butter, $20, $30 items.
Yep.
We have other items up too, but that seems to be the stuff that's selling,
Yeah. Yeah, so something you wrote down here was 20 of the 35 items in our main store were clothes or shoes. That stuff is just selling.
And that's because that's what we've been
listing.
Listing a lot of those.
A lot of clothes.
And yeah, because we didn't even break an average of $30 an item. It was like $29.97 or something. And we really depend on those high dollar items to sell.
To pad out our numbers.
To have those really great weeks. We saw that this week when Steve posted his What Sells video where he made like $3,800 in 1 week because he's selling these like
stereos
and vintage receivers and
But as we see on his videos, there will be weeks where he's like barely breaking $900 because someone canceled a sale. True. Or he just didn't sell a big stereo equipment. And so the thing is, it just fluctuates. You can have those high weeks and you can have those low weeks as long as at the end of the month.
I mean, let's have some real talk here, okay?
Let's get real.
The fact that we are going to make about $1,500 on eBay in a week.
Not bad.
I have to talk to myself when we were starting 8 years ago in the depths of the last depression and, we were thinking just everything was going to go wrong. I mean, I would have just been like, no way we can make that kind of money,
On old shoes.
So we can't be greedy. We have to be grateful for what we have,
That's right.
So it's good. A couple just notable sales. We sold a vintage sweater for $100.
Yeah, so
purely because Ryan titled it in a certain way.
So, mohair, old man, blue-gray sweater. Immediately when I saw it, I was like, Kurt Cobain. That is definitely a Kurt Cobain sweater. Because I was like the biggest Nirvana fan on earth.
If you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Kurt Cobain and blue sweater.
Yeah, like fuzzy mohair sweater. So, the great thing was, our helper took a photo of it. I listed it. It sold overnight to someone in England. I had it up for $125. He offered $100. Global shipping program. Love it.
You got it. And then the other thing was also a 90s kind of shirt. Yeah,
it was a original Bart Simpson t-shirt. We've had it for about a year. I had it up for $120, $150, something like that. Someone offered $70. It was already on sale. And I'm like, I will take $70 all day. So that was a good sale.
It's so funny. I remember when just the world was just deluged by Simpsons junk. I mean, it was just everywhere. Just Simpsons was on everything. And it's funny that this stuff sells well.
Well, because this one was from the 90s, so it was not
Eat my shorts.
It's cowabunga. Yeah, so it's funny. Dude, that show has been on since I was like 10.
Yeah.
And some people listening to this, that show's been on since they were born.
Or longer, yeah. Depending on how old they are.
Yeah. So it's
okay, customer issues. We got one return.
It was a bag.
The guy just said it didn't fit or he didn't like it, but he paid for all the shipping, paid the 20%.
Paid the restocking fee.
Good.
I was like, fine.
Then on our second store, it's been pretty quiet over there. We don't list over there anymore. It's kind of like a ghost ship. It's like a zombie.
Stuff still sells over there.
It's like a zombie store, and so it's kind of this weird experiment. What happens if you don't list in your store ever? It's been 6 months.
Look, the reason I'm not listing is because we have the medium store,
right,
and you get 1,000 listings for free, and we're at 1,020. So why add to it? I'm just going to wait till it goes down.
And I know we should transfer it and use special things. We aren't doing that anyway. But so I look over there, or you look over there, and we recently got a neutral feedback in a row.
Yeah, I was like, from 2 different people.
And it's strange, and and we all talk about this stuff. They didn't contact us. They didn't ask for anything.
They didn't want a refund. They didn't want a return.
But in their feedback, they just aren't. They don't seem happy. And there's nothing we can do about it since it's just their opinion. But the big question is, why do you keep an item if you don't like it?
Right? Like one person said on a wool scarf that there were a couple tiny like pinholes, and you're like, well, I guess they're gonna keep it. So it's kind of a bummer. I guess that's the point of neutral feedback, being like, this wasn't great, but I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah, but it's just strange. Anyway. But that's what I was saying about like feedback, about like not, pestering people about getting feedback, because I would rather have them just be silent than to leave that. Because, even though we have hundreds and hundreds of positive feedback, the way eBay works is the neutral and negative is the stuff that stands out.
Yeah, it really stands out.
It is what
Look,
it is.
and you know what I do with that? Because honestly, I was like, I don't want to take returns. I don't want to tell these people, just return it. I don't want them back. They seem to be like they don't want to return them. So what I do is I just reply. I don't send them a direct message. So on these 2 neutrals, I reply and I say, happy to take a return for any reason if the buyer contacts us.
Right. And that's actually on the feedback page.
Yeah.
You can do a public reply. And we've seen sellers who leave like really a nasty things. That's not a good idea. It's just good so then people see
like
a future buyer, and maybe they'll understand, for some reason the buyer didn't want to do anything.
Well, and also, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, the buyer never contacted me.
Right.
If they wanted to do something, contact me directly,
Okay, things we learned in the forum this week.
The forum.
So, Anarchist Kitchen, who has been posting recently, she had this really cool idea that I didn't think about. So she's like, when she's in a thrift store with her boyfriend, she's like, okay, we're trying to figure out strategies how to get the right stuff. So we're not just, because there's so much stuff to choose from. I don't want to just buy a bunch of junk. So, like a lot of us, she'll research on her phone for an item. Right. And like what we do is I'm like, okay, has this sold? And I'm like, okay, some have sold. But she goes beyond that. She sees what's for sale. Yeah. So if there's 200 of this item for sale, she's like, oh, the market's flooded. Much. But if this thing, there's only 10 of them, she's like, great, I'm going to get this.
It's very smart.
So, I never really thought about that, to look at, the flooding of the market.
I do that, but it's only after we bought stuff and I'm listing it.
Right.
Well, okay. Sometimes I look at the demand, but a lot of times I'm like, okay, I have these playing cards. Did some sell? Yes, a couple of them sold. Okay. Are there like 500 on eBay? Right. And how much are they listed for? Like, I will go back and forth when I'm researching for prices.
It definitely seems like a lot more kind of computer stuff you're doing in the store. The store, is you're in the shirts and there are people all around you, because you're trying to see, okay, 10 things sold, but there's 200 of them, it's for sale, versus 10 things sold and there's only
one other one. Or there are none left. Right. Yeah.
So I think that is good for us, especially we start doing stuff like that, or I guess we could if we're spending a little bit more for items. But again, if we're in places where things are cheap,
just get it.
I'm just like, it's so cheap, like, let's just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing, people were talking about, which is interesting, and I've heard these stories before, that I think seems very specific for people that sell on eBay or choose to make this like, form of income, is hearing people talk about taking care of their parents when they've gotten older. You know, we've heard, and there was one person on its forum talking about that, and I think that's so interesting. It's such a, a human thing. If you work for a company, you have to be there. And you have to, present yourself in a certain way. And you have meetings and duties. And if you have a parent with Alzheimer's or just needs help, you can't really be there in the way that it's need you. And I love hearing stories where people are like, I started selling on eBay. I could then take care of my mom or my dad. Yep. And I could be there for that short period at the end of their life. Like, totally be there. Right. Cooking, cleaning. Yep. whatever, you know, and then I could still be selling on the side or whatever. Some people even talk about like getting their parents kind of involved a little bit, you
exactly.
know, like
it gives you that freedom.
Yeah,
you know?
and I think that's cool. I love hearing those kind of stories.
Absolutely, and a good place to read a lot of those stories on the forum is where people introduce themselves. That's a place where you can really... I love it because I'm just hearing all different kinds of stories. Like, you know, I used to be a lawyer and I started
I'm
just like, wow.
I'm just getting out of college.
Right,
you know?
exactly. Yeah. So there's so many different perspectives. It's really fascinating.
Okay, our coming week, so we are currently renovating and spending buku bucks on a second rental. So all this money that we're making on eBay is going into this house.
Yeah.
And plus more. That's what I'll be doing this week, is going over there working with these guys on it. If you want to see photos, in the past month, we've gone from an old house to... I mean, it still has a lot of work, but we've like built onto the house. It's really amazing. Go to shampooandbooze.com and you can see all the photos
progress
of what old shoes can do. You know? Selling old shoes on the internet.
Yep. So this week you'll be doing that, but I will. Well, it is a holiday week. It is Thanksgiving on Thursday, so I might have a short week with my helper, but I think she's still gonna come and help me. So we still have a lot of smalls. We have just random boxes like silverware, perfume.
We have like a whole table of like stamps and postcards and stuff. Photos, just like ephemera stuff.
But you know what? Look, I sometimes I hate ephemera because I hate the way we store it. It's really hard to find stuff. But it sells. That's the thing. Anytime I'm going through our ephemera boxes, I'm like cursing, and then I'm like, but I keep going through the boxes because stuff keeps selling.
And it really is that it's process of like, oh, just snap a photo and just sell the whole lot. Mm-hmm. But then if you just take some time and start kind of digging into it and doing some research, then that's where you start to educate it yourself. You know, all education takes time. I mean, if you actually start to research some of those stamps, you'll be like, oh, these stamps from, 18th century Germany, those are worth something. These from India are not. You know? And then that's new stuff that we can look for when we're out there. So the process of listing, of doing the research to a list, is what makes us better scavengers.
And I think it can be fun. I mean, when I'm working with this person and I'm giving her these boxes full of the most random... Here are a bunch of vintage playing cards. She's like, what? And I was kind of joking with her where I'm like, I never thought that I would become a person who knew how to date sealed playing cards based on the tax stamp that they used to, put on cards because it was gambling. Like this, federal government used to tax playing cards because it was considered gambling. So it's funny that you just know that stuff. And she's like, how do you know this? And I'm like, I just picked up some playing cards and I looked on Google and I found the information, and that's how I learned how to price it and find them. And now you know. Yep. But I understand that's what you're talking about. It's like you don't want to educate someone so they can just like become your competition.
It's just, we like to come from a point of abundance that there's just a lot of stuff out there. If she wants to start hitting thrift stores, even the ones that we shop at, and wants to start to list stuff, go for it. Instead of like my instinctual feeling of like competition
Don't
and
tell
like
anybody
scarcity and like there's not enough for all of us, and
it's like, why do you have a podcast where people around the world listen to you then?
The only reason why this exists is because our friend Mikey, who helped us start this, I was like, why would we want to tell people? And he's just like, there's so much stuff. No one's going to be able to compete. Yeah,
exactly.
And then just see, last thing, yes, it is a holiday, a weekend, and people were talking about Black Friday. Our experience is that Black Friday stuff is obviously just a promotional deal for the big stores, mainly.
Yeah.
we never see some big jump on eBay, so it's just,
and then there's the whole Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
I honestly have never seen a bump there either.
I mean, I think that is probably more for people that do the retail arbitrage
like
on Amazon FBA, and they're like buying toys, so all the obvious stuff like the latest Legos.
Yeah, like that's just not our.
The kind of stuff we sell.
I mean, we might get a little bump or like. Yeah. I remember last year on Cyber Monday we were like we sold 2 things. We were like, what?
I don't even like that we're calling it Cyber Monday. Don't do that. You're buying into the system.
Okay, so let's listen to some voicemails. Yep. You can call us on our voicemail line, and the phone number is 540-407-8486. To ask a question or leave a comment, you have 3 minutes.
Hey guys, this is Shane calling from Detroit. I had some emails going back and forth, I think, with Jay earlier this week, actually. But, I was just calling about the FBA question. I sell on FBA. I would say predominantly I sell on FBA. And I will say that it has definitely slowed down a lot. I kind of use the 30-day tracker. And as of a week ago, my sales were around $9,000 or $10,000 a month, or every 30 days. And as of 5 or 6 days ago, it dropped to 7 or 8. And I don't know if that's because of election season or just kind of pre-holiday slump sales, or a combination of the both is what I was actually thinking. But it's hard to say. I have a lot of long tail items. I went probably a little too wide in those items, but I also have some that aren't as long tail, and it's just slow all over the place. So just to add to that discussion, I don't know if it's also just the other issue with the long-term storage fee is playing a role too. But I guess we'll see over the next week or so as the election is wrapped up if that actually holds or not. So just thought I would add my 2 cents, and hopefully we figure more out. Thanks.
Cool. I love hearing that kind of info. I mean, although it's for us, our Amazon FBA experiment was more of the scavenger style. So we were sending in, books we found and scavenged items. It wasn't like the kind of retail arbitrage and wholesale stuff, toys and that kind of stuff. So for us, we've been selling some books.
We sold a few books.
Yeah, I mean, we probably made a couple $100.
We're not sending anything else in. Yeah. I'm not looking for that stuff. I'm not scanning stuff. I don't have a pile of Amazon
We just want to see how much stuff we can get sold before February 1st, when those new fees kick in.
And that will be a year of us on Amazon FBA. We started February 1st.
But I'm glad you called in, because I would like to hear from other people that have really gone big or really do Amazon FBA for real, retail arbitrage or wholesale or however else. And I'm really curious if FBA still is the engine that people have always said it has been, or is anything changing,
Or is it just a temporary blip? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we said, this actually might be good because the fees might scare away a lot of people, so there'll be less competition.
Hi, Ryan and Jay. Love the podcast. I'm just calling today to remind you or suggest to you that you get a flu shot, since you've mentioned you are getting insurance from a health insurance exchange through Obamacare, and this could be the last year you get that. So, I remember your problem last year. Okay, I love the podcast. I learn so much every day that I listen or I go to the site. I love the forum. Thank you for all you do.
Okay, yes, we are going to get flu shots this year because we got the flu last year and it was horrendous. It was awful.
It's the first time I got the flu. I don't remember, maybe as a tiny little child, but I don't remember being that sick. The cool thing is our county gives them out for free on certain days at the health department.
So I'm going Monday.
Yeah.
I have to go into town on Monday morning.
Me too.
I'm getting my flu shots.
I'm going to put that on. It's my schedule right now.
I'm going into town at 8 a.m. on Monday, and I am getting a flu shot.
Cool.
So that is on my calendar.
And it is true. That is one of the unfortunate things that might happen because of this election. Voting matters. The conservative Congress and Donald Trump say they're going to
dismantle the ACA.
Yeah, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and so far there's not a clear solution as to what they're going to do. And it was so good for people like us who didn't work for a company. It made it cheap, it made it affordable, and it made it easy to find good insurance. And I just don't know what's going to happen if it all just goes back to just
I don't know.
However it was,
I don't know.
So we'll see.
No one knows what's going to happen.
So again, if you voted for Donald Trump, just hold him accountable. Like
if you want to make insurance in this country better,
it's make sure
make it better.
Yeah, it's make sure they do it.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. This is Keith from Indiana. I had a question, but I wanted to share my story. I started following you guys back in May. A friend of mine showed me something that he sold on eBay. So I started going with him, and I started with just my iPhone in my hand. I sold a couple of items, and listening to your podcast through the summer when you guys were talking about the iPhone or your phone versus the computer was quite comical to me because I only just had my iPhone. I started my store up in July. I have followed your guys' model. My first couple of months, I did over $800 in sales. October was my first month in $1,000 in sales. I've gotten up to about 270 posts, and things were rolling pretty good. But November hit, and it's kind of like shut down for me. Anyways, and I was really having some high hopes for the fourth quarter, and things started going well in October, and then all of a sudden, here, the first part of November, it's just really kind of slowed way down for me, and I was wondering if that's normal, or is there something else, or should it be picking up, or what should I be seeing, or when should it really, the Christmas season, start to hit, and I should see more activity. But that's all I have. I appreciate everything you guys do. Keep up the good work, and I will keep listening. Thanks a lot.
I would love to know when it's going to pick up too.
No, I mean, look, welcome to It's This World. It really is ups and downs. Some of it's just normal. Some of it is just people's perception of the economy.
Right, sure.
I mean, we've always said the only control any of us have is listing.
So, look, you said you have 270 items.
Shoot for 500.
Go up to 500. Get listing.
That's, I mean, I don't know. And maybe other people do things that we don't do, but we have no control over who buys from us. So,
or when they buy,
we just focus on getting more stuff online. The more search terms we put out there, the more stuff that could buy. So when people are ready to buy, they will.
Yeah.
And that's what we always talk about too, is the averages,
Yes.
So maybe we're having a slow week, but then next week will be good. And we always look at what our average is for the month.
Yes.
So that way all the slow days just dissolve because they got taken up by other days.
Right.
Good days.
So our advice is list more. You should be listing, making that pipeline, and averaging out.
Yeah, and if you want, start experimenting with selling different kinds of stuff. So
right.
If you're selling hats or something, try selling something else. You know? And if you're getting better as a scavenger, you can maybe start finding more expensive items too.
Yep.
Hello, you filthy trash elves. This is Derek from Utah calling. First time caller. I've listened to every episode. And I'd recommend that everyone do that because you guys cover about every question I've ever heard. If you were to go back and just listen from the beginning and catch up, and a wonderful show, and I love you guys. And I have a heartbreaking story for you that has not been covered, and I don't know what to do except for sit here and cry. Basically, all yesterday, I made listings on my iPhone on the app and saved them as drafts. And last night I went from the iPhone to the eBay site to bulk, just list them all, go through and add on, everything from allowing, buyers to remain anonymous to putting on my 20%, restock fee, et cetera, et cetera. And as I went and hit submit all, an error came up. And out of, I think I had like 33 listings I'd worked on since about 8 in the morning till this was about 6 o'clock at night. I think 27 of the 33 listings I'd worked on all day came up with this error, and all of my pictures had been deleted somehow when I pushed submit all. So I called eBay and got passed around to several agents, and basically all they told me is you're going to have to retake all the pictures. I figured it was something like 300 pictures that had just been deleted, and they couldn't really explain to me what had happened because they were on my app. When I checked the listing before I hit the submit all button, they were there on the created listings page. They told me that they probably just didn't upload from the app to the created listings, but they were there. They won't let you talk to IT, as you probably know, and they really just didn't have any answers for me. So I'm heartbroken. I can't think of any way to retrieve these because they were just saved on the app, not the computer, or not on, I didn't back them up because I didn't take them with a standard camera because I was just using the app to try and knock them out and get ready for the big holiday rush. Anyways, word of warning out there. I probably should have just done like 5 or 10 listings at a time or something. And good luck this holiday season. Hope everyone can learn from this experience. If you guys have any idea of a way I could recover those, I really don't want to just go retake all those pictures and, But anyways, thanks. Love the program. And, we'll see you guys around, and good luck. Bye.
Okay, so yeah, that is super heartbreaking. I can't imagine taking photos of whatever 50 items and 30 and then having them all disappear, especially if we'd already stored them and then we have to get them back out.
That's hard.
I mean, that's always its concern is like if any of our items in our storage are zombies
or not listed,
right? Like
something.
The listing disappeared or something, and we just don't know. But what we try and do, though, is make sure we don't let that much stuff stay unuploaded, right? I mean, do you ever do 30 items where all the posts are...
Well, now that we have this new system with the person we're working with, the thing that we found was the phone... I don't know if this is true for everybody, but on the iPhone, you can only see 30 drafts. So if she was getting ahead of me, we noticed this. And she had 30 things up and I was behind and I needed to list like a couple of those. She's like, I can't get to, the last 20 drafts. Like the phone is only showing me 30 of them. So I had to be in sync with her, at least by like 30 items. So I don't even let her get up to like 20. I'm like listing at the same time. So I think eBay allows you to make many, many drafts. I don't know why that would have happened, though, that something happened with...
But, see, okay, so let's get real serious here, okay?
Yeah.
You were telling me some pretty hardcore eBay stuff about... Drafts, about how it would flip you into a different mode.
Lister.
So let's talk about this. Okay, if you're really into this stuff, this is the real deal here.
So something I noticed, and you know what? I noticed they fixed this week, which was great. So when I was in drafts, I would click on one because I want to do them one by one because I'm naming them different things. They have different weights. They have different categories, whatever. I would click on complete this draft, but it would flip me into the bulk listing mode, even just with one single listing, which was a pain because you can't see the photos right. It's just an awful interface for just doing one. So now this week I noticed I didn't have a problem. I just click on complete draft and it just gives me a single listing. So I think they fixed that. I think it was a bug with multiple drafts. So I don't know if it had something to do with that where it accidentally flipped you into bulk listing and did something wrong, or
it sounds like maybe the engineering team was doing updates.
Maybe they were.
I mean, that's the thing with a lot of this stuff. It seems like eBay is fixing and changing and rearranging pipes and
as you're working on the site,
as stuff is actually happening. So
so
that's unfortunate.
That could have happened. The good thing that I want to tell you is be grateful it wasn't 100 listings. If it was only 30, that's a headache for sure.
Yeah.
But a catastrophe would have been a lot more than
but
that.
I would try maybe to list as you're going a little bit more.
A little, like do 5 at a time or something, Okay, that's it for the podcast today. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com and join the conversation on the brand new forums. You can call and leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. The phone number, again, is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video, so you can see what sells on eBay and how much stuff sells for. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube so you always get the latest episode. You can listen to our other podcast where we talk about our Airbnb business and our new renovation that's happening, and that's at shampooandbooze.com. As the winter is approaching, you can have a very nice stay in our vacation farmhouse, and we'll have dinner with you.
Yeah.
Maybe. If you want us to.
Just check out the blog, and there's a link to our farmhouse that you can rent.
This podcast is ending in 3, 2, 1.
Bye.